Friends, we hear about the barren vineyard. This is the constant theme in the first reading, in the responsorial psalm, and in the gospel. In the psalm, the boar of the forest lays waste to the vineyard. I've been to Texas twice this year, and I have two good friends that own property, ranches, and the boar, the pigs, the feral hogs, are despised because they are an invasive species and they destroy anything they can eat. My friend I was on his property in June, and we went down to this one area, this open area where there was a field, and he looked down and he said, I just mowed this 2 days ago, and the worms probably came up as a result of the mowing, and the hogs came in and they devastated the crop that was in that place because they were eating those worms. In the gospel, the tenant farmers act as if the land and the vineyard belong to them, but it does not. It does not belong to them. It belongs to the landowner, who is a father. He is the father of the son whom they kill. Friends, it's Respect Life Sunday, the first Sunday of October, and I want to approach this Sunday a little differently than I have in the past. I want to share with you some of the testimony of post-abortive women, testimony that may jar some of us out of our complacency when it comes to this most important issue. There are those who complain. And he said, well, there's other issues and there's other pro-life issues, and certainly there are. And we have an article posted on our our parish website that lists abortion and some others, many other atrocities committed against human beings. But this issue of abortion is the most heinous and the most numerous because the victim has no voice, the victim cannot fight back, and the victim is not protected by any of our laws. That's why we preach on this specifically, and the bishops of the United States say this is at the top of the list, and these other issues are important, but this is at the top of the list. I really want you to hear this if you hear nothing of the homily today. I want you to go home, and I want you to watch something on Amazon Prime Video. Maybe you don't have Amazon Prime Video, but I bet your friend does, and they could loan you their password or what have you, or have you come over. I want you to watch this video. It's called Women After Abortion, and it's on Amazon Prime Video. I spent the last 2 days watching and going back and listening and watching, because it is jaw-dropping to hear the testimony of these women. It is heartbreaking to hear the testimony of these women. Years ago, when I was a newly ordained priest, I heard one of the elder priests, one of the senior priests, say that he would never preach on this issue because the post-abortive woman was undoubtedly sitting in the congregation. I didn't have the wherewithal back then to say, that as I would say today, Father, you are a chicken. You are a chicken, because there are all kinds of young women in the congregation who will be faced with this decision someday, and you said nothing. You said nothing. No, the post-abortive women are assuredly in the congregation, because the statistics are about 1 in 4 women. And we have to preach about this because she needs a voice. And I hope I can lend my voice to you today to honor you, to speak about the pain that you've been through, so that maybe someone else doesn't have to suffer the same thing. And also to share, as you know, but we'll repeat it again, that God is a merciful God. We know in the sacrament of reconciliation that He has forgiven us. Sometimes it's hard to forgive ourselves, but he has forgiven us. He loves us, and that this is not, it is not an unforgivable sin. No. God loves us dearly, even when we make big mistakes. And we also remember there's always a man involved, and we'll speak a little bit about that. But more times than not, he abandons the woman. He thinks it's the noble thing. I'll pay for this. Then I'm going to disappear. And maybe I'm going to do this again and again and again. But it usually catches up with these men. But the women are more vocal about the pain. Making the decision. A woman named Kelly said this. These are quotes from this documentary. Abortion was not something I wanted to do. It wasn't even really something that was brought up until I was pressured into it by my boyfriend and those around me. Another woman said, when we got there were sidewalk counselors praying, but then they were also protesting. There were signs and very loud, and we went into the back door of the clinic, and even sitting inside the waiting room, you could hear the noise. And my boyfriend began to cry and said that he felt it was a sign from God in that we didn't need to be there. But I was self-centered, so I just looked at him and I told him to shut up. And if he didn't want to sit there and wait with me, then he could go out to the car and wait there by himself. In the clinic. As the nurse was performing the ultrasound, I watched her, and she was looking at my baby on the monitor. And I asked her and said, "Can I see my baby?" And she took the monitor literally in her hands and turned it away from me. Another woman said, and I turned to the screen and thought, that looks like a baby. Not the blob, they told me it was. Not a clump of cells. That looks like a baby. Well, the sonographer got very upset and yelled at me and said, "Turn around, don't you dare look at that." Former abortion provider said this, "We put her on the table and found just a blob in her abdomen. And we all have blobs. Men and women have blobs in their abdomen." Another woman said, and they had the screen turned away from me, and I asked to see it. And the sonographer said, "I don't think that's a good idea." I told her, "No, I really want to see it before I go through with it." So she ran the probe across my stomach and turned the screen towards me and showed me a dot on the screen. I thought, well, that's it. Well, I can do this. Another woman said, "I bought the lie. I now know she didn't show me the baby. She showed me a dot on the screen so I would go through with the abortion." The procedure. One woman said, and I said, "No, really, I don't want to do this." And the nurse came over and put her hand on my shoulder and pushed me down and said, "Honey, you're here. Let's just get this done." And some of the providers say, "Oh, it's no worse than having a tooth pulled. Pain is minimal, there's a slight tug, that's it." Lie. One woman said, "I never felt something so painful and so awful as that procedure." Another woman said, "And when I thought about it, how can something that's a woman's right cause so much pain?" The aftermath. And I knew right then and there I'd made the biggest mistake of my life, another woman said. The aftermath: regret, shame, self-hatred, serial relationships, drinking, drug addiction, suicidal ideation, and attempts. This is the list that so many of these women put up after their abortions. Very common. All of these women said that finding Jesus was the turning point in their healing process. They went to psychologists, they went to all kinds of places for healing. And the psychologists would never approach the issue of, do you think your abortion has something to do with what's going on with you right now? The pain, the drinking, the constant relationships that never work out. They never approached the subject. But all of them found Jesus. And they said that's when the healing process really began. That's when things came into focus. See, in the psalm it says, Lord, let your face shine upon me, and I shall be saved. Friends, could it be that all of what we've seen in the news recently is speaking about this barren vineyard, this lack of respect for human life from conception to natural end? Could it be the violence, the protests, the burning, the hatred, the anger, the profanity, the shouting, the vitriol, and even maybe this strange disease, all products of a lack of respect for the dignity of human life from its very beginning to its very end? We see all this. We think about the barren vineyard. These folks think that this vineyard is there. How similar to what we hear, my body, my choice. Secular science shows us there's another body involved. When we do surgery in utero, the baby is considered another patient. But see, we've got this bad tenant mentality. My body, my choice. No, there's another body. There's another body. Somebody that has to be protected and considered. Friends, it's time for us Christians to be good examples of what it is to be people who respect life from conception to natural end. To show the world what that means, even as we go to the polls next month.